Weyoun finds interspecies mating rituals fascinating to watch. General Martok's filthy, mangy targ had the heart of a warrior in his bony breast. And Legate Damar drinks to Weyoun 7. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. Today we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, episode 19 of season 7, Strange Bedfellows, written by Ronald D. Moore, directed by René Auberjonois. This was April 21st, 1999. We have a very special guest today. The man, the myth, the legend, Legate Damar, leader of the Cardassian Union himself, Mr. Casey BIGGS is here. There he is.
Yeah.
I think you missed your intro for a second there, Casey. I hope you heard it.
You guys froze up on me a little bit, but I said hello. Hello, everybody. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. Cirroc, we have been waiting.
Yes.
6.5 seasons to talk with Casey, and he's finally here to join us. We couldn't be happier. We couldn't be more excited. We've been singing your praises for so long. It's about time you actually got to hear it. How are you?
Yes.
I like that.
Absolutely. I've obviously I love you as a person, and I'm a fan of you as Casey BIGGS, but getting to know you as Damar in this show has been a real pleasure to watch your performances and the layers that you put into this character, the way you have so much subtext to your eyes, and what you say is usually the opposite of what you feel. Mm-hmm. And I love to watch you portray this character, the relationship between you and Weyoun, the dynamic with Marco Limo and as Gul Dukat. I just think it's just a very fantastic job that you've done throughout the show. Casey, I want to start there and just give you kudos for how amazing I think your performances have been on this show, and particularly in these later seasons as your role has grown and expanded.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, appreciate that, Cirroc. Ditto with you as well. And the fascinating thing about this character is that they had no idea. I mean, Hans Beimler basically created the character, I guess, because he told me he gets money every time I'm on screen. So, they had no idea that this character was going to have that kind of an arc to it, and thank goodness it did, because they could have killed me off any time, any given moment. How many I killed Dukat's daughter. They could have killed me for that. And Dukat just said, well, she deserved it, and they moved on. But it gave an amazing arc to be able to play. I started out as Dukat's lackey, and then ended up the leader of the empire, and then died a hero, and you can't ask for anything better than that.
Mm-hmm. I also see it like this. What makes you so relatable or just really interesting to watch is that you have these you showed this vulnerability. You also showed this desire to move up the ladder in life, which people can relate to in life. They want to move up and be more successful. There's aspects of that I think you portray very well. But you also have this conflicted kind of these demons inside that you really bring to the surface in these later episodes, where you're looking yourself in the mirror and you show that you have this conflict inside of you. I love that aspect of your performance.
Yeah, that was great. And I was so happy to do that, because finally I could stop drinking that horrible Canar. It was just...
What was that, like maple syrup? What was in there?
It started out as Caro syrup. And then they got very excited the last season and said, we changed it because I know you didn't like it. I said, what is it? And they said, sugar-free maple syrup. I said, it's just horrible. But it's funny. I watched these past couple episodes you're talking about just a couple of days ago, because I don't think I'd seen them since they aired. And I have to say, I came away disappointingly almost thinking how good Jeff Combs is. Like, terrific.
Man. He is good.
It's not disappointing. It's fantastic, and it's not just Jeff Combs. It's Mark Alimo. It's you.
Yeah.
Everybody's bringing so much to the table. And what makes it good is the conflict there. I mean, Deep Space Nine really gives you a lot of conflict. Everybody hates each other. Everybody's in it for themselves or for a different kind of reason, and that's the motivation behind everybody's reasoning is what makes it so interesting. And I mean, Damar is such he's easy to read, but he's also smart enough to stay alive and not overplay his hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was a patriot. He's a complex character, and when they finally started, allowing me to do some stuff, which was great, it just when I decided.
Yeah,
Damn,
I think we lost it a little bit.
He's saying something so good right now too.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that, Casey? Sorry about
we
that.
lost you when you decided. We lost you right there.
What did I say? How wonderful it was? What? No, I just said that the arc of the character was so great when they finally allowed me to really play some stuff and become a rebel and stop drinking that stuff and find my, find the soul of the guy again. And he decided it doesn't matter. I'm going to fight for the Cardassians, and it was so interesting. One of the I think season 6 or 5 or something. I got a big job in New York. I was to do a Broadway show, and I was so excited about it. I went to told the producers, and I said, "Hey guys, it's great. I'm going to be doing a show at Lincoln Center." And they said, "What? You're booked for 16 episodes here." I said, "You didn't tell me." Cirroc. I mean, you were regular. As far as I know, as far as we know, you're done after that one episode. Or you want me another? They didn't tell me they'd written me in for that whole arc. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing is, they could have redid the whole thing. They flew me back on my days off in order to shoot. And so much of those, when you see those scenes of Jeff and I just in front of those screens, because I had to fly in on Monday, shoot everything on a Monday, and then fly back to New York to do the show again. So I was pretty flattered that they actually did that.
Yeah.
They could have done anything, they could have rewritten. I mean, it's like with Jeff's character, they killed him off, Weyoun, and they said, "What the hell did we do that for? We like the guy." And they said, "Hey, it's outer space. We have a clone planet now. We can keep cloning." So, okay.
Clone planet. Well, that's the thing. When you do such a great job, they start thinking, they start making big plans for you and your character. They just want you to come back. They want to expand your role as an actor and as a character.
Well, that's, that I did a scene in the bar, Quark's bar, early on. Mm-hmm. And it was really good scene, a great scene. I think that's when they decided, okay, we're going to turn him into a drunk, into an alcoholic. So every scene practically you saw me and I was thinking at some point, until that scene that Renee, directed in this thing where I just got fed up with it and I got to throw it at the mirror and never have to drink again.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that was great.
And that's another thing that I think people relate to is just that small little aspect of alcoholism or being addicted to something and kind of battling those demons. That was kind of another layer to the character that I felt. Weyoun used to take a lot of digs at you for, I see it's you're having your breakfast or something. He would just make little. He would make those digs, but there's a lot of people struggling with that, with addiction and with alcoholism, and they do have to battle those demons, and they feel those kinds of ways about being ashamed and wanting to break the addiction. I really felt like you portrayed that accurately for the people out there that are dealing with that.
Yeah, because I think the character was so distraught by what he felt that the compromise he felt he had to do to stay with the founders and all those people and all that, and was never happy. What I liked about the last 2 episodes that you guys asked me to watch, you could really see, I got a real chance to chart that change, because then I had a couple of Cardassian guys coming in there, and we were starting to plan and plot our way out of this thing. And then I think the one coming up too is that I call it which is actually where Avery directed it, where I call my Henry V speech, where Damar comes out of hiding and finally says, we're gonna win the day or whatever like that. What a great opportunity to do a speech like that. I mean, come on, Deep Space Nine it's all about melodrama, life and death and life and death and life and death and life and death. That's why it's so Shakespearean, because it's all about melodrama.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And really, I think our cast, Cirroc, what I loved about it, these were real actors in this thing. These are people who, you can't say that kind of gobbledygook and make it sound like it's authentic unless you have had some training and all that kind of stuff. So it was really fun it was like a candy store with these people. And all of these great different personas, Avery and you and Penny and
I got stuck thinking about Candy Store too.
But I think you're 100% right. You think of Armin and Renee and JG and all these guys that just have so much. O'Reilly. These guys just have so much presence and understanding of the craft.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about a candy store, Casey, and it was also a candy store for us fans. I mean, it was like heaven watching so many great actors portray such layered characters. Like you all got, a T-bone steak as an actor with which to work. It wasn't just like, the guy that pushes the buttons or the person that's always angry or the person that's always crying.
Yeah, a lot of levels. Yeah.
It was like
I was reminded too in the second one, the Changing Face of Evil, I guess, which you're going to talk about later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd forgotten that whole Alamo storyline. And, I don't know if Cirroc, about that whole thing. The reason I got this job was because of the Alamo.
Oh, right.
Well, we do know that Ira has a fascination with the Alamo. We did get that disclosed to us through several sources and confirmed by Ira himself.
Yes, that's right. Just recently.
I did the very first dramatic IMAX film they ever shot, which was called The Price of Freedom, which was about the Alamo, the fall of the Alamo. And I played the hero. I played, what's his name? William Barrett Travis. Now, the funny thing is, when I went and did the audition for DS9, I didn't know anything about it. And I went there and I've told this story many times, but I find it's a fascinating story that, you go in there, as in the audition, there's, 25 guys all in the room and they take you in one by one and there's 12 people sitting there watching you. And the audition was 5 words. I mean, that was it. The 5 words were, "They're in range, sir, fire." How the hell can you tell anybody? So I went in there and I said, "Well,
you nailed it, though."
Huh?
You nailed those 5 words, though, man.
Well, I did it because they said, "Boy, that was really terrific." And I'm thinking, who are these people? So anyway, I go home and I get a call. By the time I got home, they said, "Oh, they loved you. They want to see you the next day." So I went in the next day, and instead of 25 guys, there were 5 guys. And I went and did the same thing. "They're in range, sir, fire." Oh, that's such a wonderful reading. I'm thinking, what the hell? But little did I know that Ira had seen my Alamo movie in San Antonio, because that's the only place it was playing in the IMAX. And so that's basically, I had the job when I walked in the door because of the Alamo.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is, later on, I got to take Ira and a couple of his buddies, Moore, and they have what they call the High Holy Days in Texas, where it was the fall of the Alamo, March 6th, around March 6th and 10th. Well, I'm sort of like a celebrity there because I played William Barrett Travis. And so I got to take Ira and all those guys, and I got him in the real Alamo. We went to the place where we shot it, which is where John Wayne shot his version of the Alamo. Had a great time there. And then we went back for all of the ceremonies. And I spoke at the ceremony, and they only let the descendants of the people who died in the Alamo in the Alamo church itself for the thing that they did there. So I actually read Travis's letter that he wrote out for help. And he says, victory or death and all this kind of stuff. But then I got to take Ira and all those guys back in the museum part, and William Baird Travis had a ring that he gave to a little girl and said to the little girl's mother, "If I do not survive, will you please get this to my son, this ring to my son?" And so we got there, and I got, Ira got to put the ring on, and it was like Elvis was in the building, man, with that whole Alamo stuff. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the point being is that you never know why and how you get a job. You just never know how you do it.
Especially with somebody like Ira, because I think he revealed to us about, did we just have the Section 31 actor?
William Sadler.
William Sadler.
Yeah.
We had William Sadler on, and Ira said he hired him because of movie Tales from the Crypt that he did. He said, "Oh, I loved that he was in Tales of the Crypt, and I saw that, and he was awesome, so I hired him for that." And Sadler didn't know that till this day, until we talked to him, that was the reason why he had gotten hired. You know why you got hired, because of the Alamo, and again, Ira mentioned that what he loved about the Alamo was the idea of insurmountable odds. I think he mentioned that in the discussion we had, that he likes stories about insurmountable odds, where it's just like, fight for your survival, essentially. And
Bill Sadler and I, there was a TV movie about the Great Wallendas. Remember the Great Wallendas were High Wire Act? Mm-hmm. Well, yes. Sadler and I both played members of the High Wire Act, and that's why I first met Sadler, because the film was about, they were doing a show in Detroit, and the 7-man pyramid, very famous thing, and they fell. A couple of them died. One got paralyzed and all that. And that's what the story basically is about. And that's Bill Sadler and I met on that 100 years ago.
But they were all family, right? Those yes, mm-hmm. Yeah.
They were still still around too. They're still around somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's great that you never know where things lead to, and that those 5 lines led to a story arc. It led
5 years on a show.
Yeah, I mean, so it's you never know how things work out. I think that's a remarkable thing. But I always wonder where you get inspiration from for certain things, because I know that you're just a nice, charming guy. I kind of think of you as the most interesting man alive type of guy, like the Dos Equis guy.
Yeah, it's like the Paso wine man, right?
Yes, the most interesting Paso wine man. Yeah.
Yes, that's just who that's what you radiate in your personality. So it's really kind of, I like to see when you are able to emanate this era of really kind of evilness or unforgiving. You have this ability to really come across as if you're cold-hearted, cold-blooded killer, and I wonder where do you draw from that when you're performing?
Well, it always has to start on the page, right? I thought the second episode I ever did of DS9 was when all of the, I don't know if you remember that one, all of them were all dressed up like Klingons. Avery.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Then Mark Alamo and Ducat and I are taking him on our ship to take him someplace, And I remember that I had to go do some looping because they said I didn't sound Cardassian enough, and I thought, what the hell does that mean? That doesn't sound Cardassian enough. What is it? So in the end, you sort of fall back and think, well, this is a military regime, right? These people are the military. So that's where you start with that thing about being of service to something and someone. And then that's why I killed Ducat's daughter. She was a traitor, She, at least in Damar's estimation, she was a traitor. And the cool thing is that the writers allowed me to develop and progress into a much more multi-layered persona. I mean, it's like in the episode you're talking about here now. How fabulous! Isn't that where I had that line? I said, "Well, to Worf, I said, you should have killed me. There's only one Damar."
Oh yes. God!
What a great line that
Oh,
is.
you had a lot of great lines. You had another one where you said
Yes.
something about, oh, why don't you go talk to Worf again? Or something like
Go
that.
talk to Worf again.
With
And
the
then-
laugh.
and then I said- and the other one I said too, I better be careful. I'll be talking to Wayu number 9.
Yes.
I love that.
Oh, man.
I love that line too. I mean, but the one was the classic, was the one that you mentioned, like right off top. I said, this deserves to be on a T-shirt. You should have killed me. There's only one
Only
Damar.
one Damar.
Yep.
That was just as classic as it gets, as far as just and the joy in your face when he kills Wei-Yun in front of
Oh,
you.
yeah.
You were
Love that.
you gave me the feeling like, oh God, finally somebody did it. And I'm so glad I got to witness that
Yeah, right.
firsthand. Yeah. And then you turn right back into but be prepared to go on trial, and
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think knowing that I was going to let him go anyway,
right.
Remember, I let him go and I, shot
Part
the
of
other
that, yeah, part of that was for the other guys around you, right?
Yeah.
For their benefit, so they hear that and say, okay, he's still on the team.
I mean, how fun is that to play? You got to play different levels because, you're playing 17 different sides against the center.
Mhm.
Yes. He's 100% right.
Yeah.
The other line, I don't know if you can hear us, if you're with us.
I was watching the episode and the guy, it's my scene, but there's some Jem Hadar behind me. You actually can see the milk going into their neck.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Catch her
Wow, I never noticed that before. That is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's when you look back like, I don't think I'll talk right now. This is not the moment. And,
No,
and that shows Damar's wisdom. He knows when to pull back. He knows when to pull back and lay off the gas. He'll press.
He can play the
He'll
game,
press it for. Yeah, he'll press it. He'll get under Wei-Yun's skin up until the moment where he knows Wei-Yun is like, oh, I will kill you. I mean, if there's a problem. And then Damar pulls back like, okay, yeah, I know.
He's got to work it. Yeah, he's got to work it.
Yes.
And I think,
Casey-
I think he knew somewhere. I think I knew somewhere in there that I would not survive this whole thing. That I would have to sacrifice myself for.
But you don't know. That's the beauty of it. It's the cat and mouse. I don't know what Damar. I'm watching this thing. I didn't know that this was going to happen in this episode. I didn't know that you were going to. I knew that you were going to be pissed at some point because I felt like you were a boiling kettle waiting. Wei-Yun was just boiling up under you, and you were just waiting to blow the top. That I got a good sense of. As far as where your allegiance lies, I thought your allegiance lies really towards Cardassia and even
Right.
Ducat.
Yeah, Ducat sort of went off the rails there, didn't he? And that
Yeah.
thing suddenly shows
Yeah,
up
a
as
little
a
bit.
Jordan. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah.
I don't even
That
know
was-
how he did. He
That's a
drink
whole
something?
other thing.
How the hell
Yeah.
did that happen? I did not. I don't think I saw the episode where he all of a sudden transformed into a Bajoran or something.
Yeah,
But I
well,
tell you,
you hook him up with the surgery. He comes to you and says he wants
Oh,
to
I
go
do?
through the surgery, and then
He
the
famously,
first thing,
and then
Yeah,
Damar
yeah.
famously says, I only hope that the doctor's as good at returning you back to what you look like originally.
Oh, my goodness.
In other words, he didn't much care for the way he looked.
yes,
We are going to hit our break in just a second here, but just one final thought on the auditioning process, Casey, because it kind of made me think, do you think that when they auditioned you, they already had an idea that your character would grow beyond that?
No. Hans told me, he said, we had no idea that we were going to take this tack with this character. Because what they did is they were watching me in the scenes and all that. And, sir, because, they could just fire you in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And they liked what I was doing. And they decided, we can take the storyline this way. Let Ducat go off the rails over there and make Damar the guy who wants to save his people,
Right.
And I love it in the second episode, I guess the Face of Evil thing. I totally forgot that when Avery says at the end of the episode, he says, Damar may be our only savior for the Alpha Quadrant. I said, I get chills thinking about that.
Yeah.
That means I got a few more episodes left.
Well, they all only have a few more left, but that's good stuff. Well, let's take our break super quick. And stick around, everybody. We will be right back on the 7th Rule. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Mr. Casey Biggs.
Cheers.
All right. Real quick, here are the trivioids of the week. There were a lot of great ones, and they go a little something like this. Weyoun finds interspecies mating rituals fascinating to watch. Thought Gore says Damar needs to have his universal translator adjusted. The Klingons have attacked Septimus III. Martok's filthy, mangy Targ had the heart of a warrior in his bony breast. Lady Sorella draws the first blood. Dukat, Angel Tanan ate all the milliberries. Kai Wynn, Adami, is happier than she's ever been in her life. The Prophet's love is strong, but so is their wrath. Ezri hits her head. Legate Damar drinks to Weyoun 7, and Quark pours a drink to Ezri every day at the same time. Almost got through those.
There
were a lot of them today, man.
Welcome to the Star Trek mouthful world.
Yeah, I was like, Thought Gore? Is that right? I think it's Thought Gore.
I thought so. Thought Gore.
Yeah.
His brother Al.
Yeah.
Which one was Thought Gore? Is Thought Gore the guy with the purple thing on his head?
Yeah.
No, he's the one with the. No, isn't he the one with the?
The Breen.
Thought Gore. No, he's the Breen.
Yeah, the Breen guy. Oh, the purple guy. That's one of that's Kai Wynn's buddy, right? Yeah. Always forget his name.
No, there was a moment there. I really love the scene where you're telling Worf and Ezri that they're going to be standing trial. And Ezri says, she's like, for what? And you're like, you don't need to know that. All you need to know is you'll be found guilty.
Yeah.
Executed.
That's it.
I was like, I started laughing my ass off when I heard that. I was like, that is so hilarious.
Then don't I say too, and I let them go, and I say, what are you doing? I say, hey, you can stay here and stand trial tomorrow if you want. Go. One of the two things. And then I get to go, to Weyoun and said, hey, I don't know what happened. They got away. Who knows? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
You shouldn't have left the Jem'Hadar in charge. That's what happened.
You shouldn't have left the Jem'Hadar in charge, so you put it on him, and it was just the perfect out for him. I also like, we were speaking of Jeffrey Combs earlier, and just there's so many good moments between the two of you.
Well, Jeff and I, we have a real chemistry. We
absolutely.
come from the same backgrounds. We know a lot of the same people. We've worked with a lot of the same people, and I was fond of calling us the Bickersons of outer space, because for some time they always just bicker back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then we did this sort of Iago Othello thing. He and I. It was in our minds that's what we were doing. But what the audience was seeing was Damar and Weyoun, but we were playing this whole cool kind of chess game, which was neat. And like I said, Jeff's a good buddy of mine, and it really made me appreciate how good he was in these things, in these as Weyoun actually.
Well, what the fans were seeing was magic, honestly. And when Cirroc and I are talking about it, like there's this chemistry that's like sparkling on stage. It's just so good and juicy watching the two of you just toss barbs at each other, and sometimes just a look or a reaction, a wordless look or a wordless smirk is all we need, and we soak up every drop of it. The chemistry is palpable. Had you met each other before Deep Space Nine, or was this just how it worked out? Wow.
We met on the show, but he had worked in a lot of the theaters I worked in, with a lot of directors I worked with, a lot of actors I'd worked with, and he went to school right up here. Where did he go? He went to PCPA for a while. That's that school just south of San Luis Obispo.
Oh, okay.
It's a professional acting thing. A lot of really wonderful people came out of there. But no, it was great. They liked us so much, and thank goodness when I was off in New York doing that play, they would fly me back every Monday to shoot our scenes, and then fly me back again. Tim, that's my idea of a good time. There was one time, Cirroc, where, get this, this is an actor's dream. I was doing 2 series at the same time. I was doing DS9, where you're flying a spaceship every week, and then I was doing this other thing called Appearances, which was post Civil War, and we shot it in Richmond, Virginia. So half of the week I was riding a horse, and half the week I was flying a spaceship. And what I did, because I was smart enough to know that if I left this to the agents or the producers to pull this off, they never would have let me do it. So as you know, Cirroc, you figure out where's the power in the room, right? The power in the room is usually the first AD, because he sets the schedule. So what was great, there was 2 really great first ADs we had on the show. I can't remember his name now, but I would go to him. I say, "Oh, hey, how many days do I have?" "Well, I booked you for 3 days in there." I said, "Well, could you put it in the big top of the week?" And he said he liked me, so I said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll put it at the top of the week." Then I'd go to the people in Virginia, this Civil War thing. I said, "How many?" "Well, we got you. We can shoot you out in 2 days here. Or can you put it at the end of the week?" I said, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll put it at the end of the week." So I did that for 6 months.
Using that classic
I wasn't even
big
talking.
arm.
Not talking to the agent, not talking to the producers, just the first AD. They would schedule it so I could make the schedules work. And I got to be ride a horse and fly a spaceship. It was terrific.
And you're literally like 600 years apart from each other. One, you're 400 years in the future. The other one, you're 200 years in the past.
Exactly. That was a cool time. And at the time, all I cared about was doing that, and I played golf and tango danced. That's all I cared about during that time. I had a place in the beach in Playa del Rey. I just loved it. I was a bachelor. I just, I would either be playing golf, taking tango lessons, or riding a horse or flying a spaceship. That's my idea of a good time.
Now, were you a California guy before, or did you come from somewhere else? Where did you come from?
Toledo, Ohio.
Oh,
I went from Toledo at 18 to New York to go to Juilliard to school, and I was scared to death, didn't know what the hell I was doing or going on, but that was a great, incredibly intimidating, great thing to do. And then shortly after graduating, I graduated in 77, I guess. 78, I started getting TV work and then came out to California. And then I got very, very disillusioned with all that. And then I went back on the stage for like 10 years to the arena stage in Washington, D.C., and the acting company with John Houseman and all this stuff. So knock on wood, I've never really had to do anything else.
Wow.
I did sell women's fashion shoes at Bloomingdale's for 2 weeks.
Who hasn't?
But that was a volunteer job. You volunteered for that.
I could sell a pair of shoes to a woman that didn't even fit her. That was so much fun.
No, you sold me on Damar in this show, and that's the real sales job that I think is just off the chain. And then we were talking about Jeffrey Combs, but the thing that I really wanted to bring up was the line that he brought with it. He always gets one back at you. You get one at him, and he always gets one back. And the one he got back is when he says, do as the founders say, or you'll schedule an execution for yourself. I thought that was just a nice little zinger right back at him.
And also the way he says it, he's got this sort of little whispery thing, going, which is really brilliant.
Yes.
I'm such a weasel. Oh my goodness. Wayu the weasel.
No, but and that was one thing that you never really liked about him, is his weaselly kind of smugness, and I think you mentioned in this episode, you said overconfidence, hallmark of the Wayuns.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I was like, he just nailed it. That overconfidence. That's how he plays
it. Well, Casey, you do have, look, you've got the best chemistry in the world with Jeff and Damar with Wayun. But what we notice is you have this incredible chemistry also with Kira, with Ducat.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. Ducat. Ducat.
You have, it's not just Damar and Wayun. It felt like every character that you had yeah, every character that you had scenes with, you had this incredible chemistry with it. It never didn't work. Can you talk to us a little bit about kind of like the vibe? You know, you always had these great one-on-one conversations.
Well,
Was there
the
like a
thing is,
difference in vibe there?
the training that I had, and then I taught in the master's program, acting and directing at the New School in New York City, for the master's program there. And what I pounded into people's heads, something that I learned early on, is that the scene is always about the other person, always about the other person. So if you can just start at that place and make sure that that what the scene is about is like right here, right now, I'm trying to explain to you my a method of working of sorts, you know. So there's no self-consciousness. There's no, you know, the melody of the voice and the gestures and all that is all very organic, because it's about you, trying to help you understand how I try to work, you know. So in those scenes, it's the same thing, you know. You just start from the premise that the scene is about the other person, and also being very specific, like with Wei-Yun, always trying to figure out how to get around him, how to figure out how to finesse him, how to use him. With Ducat, it's always like, well, how can I serve this person? With
Kira,
one of the things that killed me in one of those episodes, there was a physical fight. She beat the shit out of Damar, and the next time you see him, he's all bruised up. Not a single thing happened here. I mean,
she was
look
fine.
at me and look at
her hair.
You just look at me and you look at her and you think, how the hell did that happen? You know, hey, she was one of the stars of the show, so of course that happened. But I have great respect for Nana and for all those people, for all of them actually. I remember Avery, you know, because you worked with him a lot, Cirroc, is that in that second episode that I did where they're all dressed up as Klingons and blah, blah, blah. And I had this like big paragraph of a speech, was having a hard time getting through it. And Avery just looked at me, he just went, chill, dig. I said, okay, you know, chill, dig. All right. Just very gracious, very gracious.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs recalls an Avery Brooks advice, and he says, he walked up to me and he told me, slalom.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's like,
yeah.
But
sense. Avery's really good at this kind of, you know, contracted expression. So he doesn't give you a whole long, drawn out, multi-paragraph thing. Mm-hmm. It's like comes down to one word, or it might be just a, you know.
Just, right.
Exactly.
It's so funny. It's always good that when you think Avery likes you, you know, he would always say to me, KC Biggs. How do you know so much, KC Biggs?
Working with Renee directing this episode, I just wanted you know, a little bit into that experience. Obviously, you know, he comes from that same kind of background with the theater and has dedicated his life to the craft. What was that like for you?
I loved it. I loved it because, you know, he knew what I was going through. He knew what I needed to go. And this also was a very important episode when I finally changed. I made the switch. That wonderful scene looking in the mirror. And that was shot like at 1:00 in the morning. And he said, Case, don't screw this up because we have to clean everything up. We have to go back, shoot the whole thing again. So make sure that you get it right where you want to get it. And that stuff goes down the mirror and stuff. And it was, what a lovely thing. That was a Ron Moore thing, right? That he wrote that in. He wrote that in. And it was just a wonderful feeling that you had. It's like with the stuff that Avery directed us in. You know, he gets it.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny because, like he's saying, he only did it in one take.
Come from Krager. I love the guy, but he comes from a technical background, not an actor background, a technical background. And
you know, it's funny, Casey. We missed the thing you said before Krager. If you want to jump back in on that,
yeah. Alan Kraker directed a lot of stuff that we did, and he did the last episodes. And what I loved about Alan, very different than say Renee or Avery, anybody. Alan is a technical guy. He comes from the technical aspect of it.
Mhm.
Avery, Renee, and those people, they come from, the actor's point of view. So it's what's wonderful is being confident as an actor with a technical director. They say, okay, I need you to do this, this, and this. And then you have to say, okay, why do I do this, this, and this? And you're not going to ask them because they're not going to give you an answer.
Right.
But it was wonderful doing that. And I don't know, did I do something? I think Michael Dorn directed an episode too, I think, that I did. I'm not sure. But, and there was a couple of those other guys, Vehar, remember him?
Michael Vehar.
Vehar.
Yeah, Mike Vehar, yeah.
I found interesting about him is that he, you look at his script and he has the motivation of every line written after the line. I don't know if you ever saw that, but I talked to him a lot about it. He said he was doing a show with, not Starsky and Hutch, Lacey and the two women cop people. I don't know. And he said that one of the actresses, the stars, said, "You're asking me to do this. You don't know why you're asking me to do this. You have to know why you're asking me to do this." Mm-hmm. And he said from that day on, he wrote down the intention of every line. He didn't necessarily share it with the actors, but he knew, he needed to know. Smart. I thought that I was very impressed with that. And my hope is if we had gone on for another 2 or 3 seasons, I would have slept with everybody on that fucking show just to start directing. I wanted, because I'm a director as well, and I really wanted to start directing them. And I heard that Roxanne, who my ex-wife, she started directing on the show, and I heard that she became a much more pleasant actor after she started directing because she showed up on time with her lines and all the rest of it. But anyway,
have you dabbled into directing at all, or?
Oh, I've directed tons on the stage. I haven't directed any films yet. I've written some films that we've done that have been produced, but I haven't directed them yet.
Would you consider directing film or strictly stage?
Absolutely. I mean, if I had my druthers early on, I would have started as a director. But I had teachers at Juilliard I'd say, "You're going to make so much money as an actor. Don't even think about it." I wish they hadn't said that, because I really feel that I probably am even a better director than I am an actor. But having the training as an actor, I know what I want to see and how to talk to actors to get them to do what you need and all the rest of that stuff.
If you could go back and redo this Damar character and just redo the performances, is there anything that you feel like you would add or take away to how he was perceived, or how?
No, it's funny. Not much, but that one little scene that I have I think it's in the first episode we're talking about here, is about I'm on the screen and they're watching me, or is that in the Changing Faces of Evil? I don't know. Where I say resist today, resist
later.
I sort of wish that I had the feeling that I have now about what resistance is like. In that, what a great moment to play, to resist today, resist now, resist, until I would have liked to have had a little more fire in that, because I don't think I understood the fire the way I understand it now, when we need to resist everything and everyone practically. But it was.
We're definitely going to watch that scene with a little bit more next week when we watch. Now I'm like looking forward to seeing that scene and watching kind of what's going on.
When you watch it, it works. It works. I mean, I'm a terrible critic. If I believe, Cirroc, if I'm watching you and I believe you, it works for me. If I watch myself, a big movie I just came out, Amsterdam, it's called. De Niro, Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, Rami Malek, Mike Myers, you name it. Everybody in the freaking world is.
Chris Rock.
It's funny. We were shooting the scene with all of these people around, and Chris is there. Chris he's a comic, but he's standing with all these great actors, and he couldn't get through his lines. He could not get through the lines. And you're standing there with De Niro and Christian Bale.
Poor guy.
Jeez, that's nerves.
Yeah,
but you think he'd be used to it in comedy, standing on stage by himself. Yeah,
but
you would think he'd be comfortable, being on stage and in the stuff that he's had to go through. But it's a different.
The thing is that he had a lot of words, And you really have to have your articulators working to get those words out. He just couldn't get the words out. He finally ultimately did, but I don't even think they ultimately used that scene in the film. But just something that I remembered. And I gave him a bottle of my wine. So, but I don't know. I think I was very fortunate. Interesting enough, in the early episodes of that I was in as Damar, I thought, oh, they're going to put me with Ducat's daughter. So I was starting to play that a little bit subconsciously. And then I realized, no, it's about Garrick and not about Damar, and I'm going to kill her anyway. The funny scene is, I don't know if you heard me talk about this before, but I'm sitting in the makeup trailer and I'm reading next week's script, and she's getting made up next to me. And I'm looking at the script and I said, oh, I what was her name?
Zial. Melanie Smith.
I'm opening the thing and said, I kill Zial? And she looks at me like, what? And she gets up and runs out of the trailer.
Wow. You ruined her day.
Well, 3 actresses did that part. They could never find somebody that they liked to do it. Yeah. That's strange. But no, I had a good run on that. I was very happy to be. I had no idea that I was stepping into that universe. Because I watched the original series when I was a kid. I didn't watch the Next Generation. I think I saw the first episode of DS9 and I didn't watch it after that, or the other stuff. So I didn't have any idea I was stepping into that profound, rich world of Star Trek. It was amazing, just amazing.
Well, I hope you watched Damage, the Star Trek Enterprise episode, because you were in it.
Yeah, they talked me into doing that. And I said, they offered it to me. We always like to just get an offer, right? Yeah. And they said, oh, this is going to be it's a new character, it's a new race, and they're going to do all this stuff. I said, oh, great, cool. It's not much makeup, great. 1 episode, right? And I should have killed Scott Bakula for stealing my warp core or whatever the hell it
was. You mentioned, you touched on it a little bit about being in this world, but one of the aspects of being in this world is actually getting this chance to see the fans at these Star Trek conventions and having a constant connection with the people that watched your work. You don't really get that in other things, and even if you do big films like Amsterdam. This is kind of an unusual kind of niche market of having this constant, connection with fans. And what has that been like for you? What that experience has been like for you?
No, it's interesting. I was over in Italy at a convention, and they were shooting that Trekkies 2, the Trekkies 2 thing. And they wanted to interview me. I said, yeah, sure. Okay. So they're interviewing me, and then I start going off on, Captain Kirk, when I'm thinking about it. And I said, turned to him, I said, you don't use any of that. You can't use it. Oh, no, we won't use any of that.
Oh, no.
Of course they all of it. But at the end of that, I said, what's interesting about Star Trek and this world is that 50 years from now, you're not going to be going to see Friends conventions or ER conventions or whatever, but you are still going to be going to Star Trek conventions 50 years from now. And that's how magical this thing is, and the zeitgeist of what Roddenberry created, and subsequently after that, they created this world and this thing where people absolutely connect to it and see themselves in these aliens and see themselves in this social intercourse world of people trying to get along or live. And that's why I think it will never go away. I don't think so. We will get old.
Casey, you've got watching you talk and listening to everything you're saying. And by the way, I think Cirroc and I were taking notes when you were giving us an acting class for about 5 minutes there, which was really cool, talking about making the scene about the other person. Really brilliant stuff. But listening to you talk, you've got such a passion and a love for the arts and for the, everything that's out there. But what really shines through in your acting, as far as Damar, is less so that aspect of you, but another aspect of you that feels just like this immense inner strength, like this fortitude that you seem to have. And there's this fortitude that Damar has that the other Cardassians don't necessarily lead with. And I felt like it was such an interesting and brave and great choice to not necessarily follow in those footsteps, because other Cardassians, we like them because they're so sneaky, they're so conniving, they're so eloquent with their words. And Damar is more of a blunt force object. He's got this inner strength and this directness that is just, it's fantastic to watch. And I've always loved it. In just 2 words, I'll just give you one quote that just from a few episodes ago, where I was like, this is the beauty of Damar. And it was when the female changeling walks in and she's got flaky face skin hanging off her. And you just said 2 words. You just go, your face. And anybody else would have said, oh, your face, or they would have said it with concern or with fear for how she would react. And you were like confrontational and bold about it, your face. And I felt like that was Damar in a nutshell. Was there any kind of conscious effort of saying, I don't want to follow in the typical Cardassian footsteps? Or was this just how you were just naturally going to portray the character?
Well, you look, when you look at it, there's basically 3 major Cardassians. There's Gul Dukat and Andy Robinson. I mean, those are like the iconic Cardassians. And then I sort of became one after that. But the way I think about it, and it's interesting you pick up on that. You said 2 words. I'll give you 1 word, Hemingway. Now, the reason I say that, because I love Hemingway, there's no fat in Hemingway's writing, if you know what I'm talking about. The Old Man and the Sea, For Whom the Bell Tolls, all that stuff. No fat. That's how he wrote. And that's the kind of acting that I like to. No fat. I don't want nothing that is an extra kind of appendage that's going to get in the way. Keep it clean, keep it simple, and make sure it's authentic and that you believe it. And also, you got to be incredibly specific. The audience doesn't need to know, but you need to know what it is you're, like you say. I was talking about something about being depressed the other day. And I said, you have to understand, depression is a result of something. You are depressed because of A, B, C, and D. We as actors have to know what A, B, C, and D is in order to play depressed. I'm feeling put upon, or I'm feeling less than, or I feel whatever. There's all kinds. You cannot play results as an actor. But the fun thing is about that particular thing, you see this and the fucking woman's face is coming off. You go, face. Enough
like,
said.
Does he know who I am?
Yeah, the other thing that I think Damar does so well is he is a question authority type of person. He doesn't just accept orders directly without running it through his head and saying, well, why are you going to do that? Or, he needs to be given like an explanation or reasoning behind it. In this episode, he's offended that he's not given the peace treaty that was being negotiated with the Breen in advance.
Why wasn't I considered on this?
He's getting demoted, basically. Yeah.
Well, basically, they had me as a figurehead. That's what they wanted. They wanted a figurehead until I really stopped drinking and stood up and pulled my cowboy boots on. I just sort of let that happen. I finally said, nope, not going to happen anymore. And then, we went underground and, came up again. And later on in the later episodes too, that it was wonderful when they allowed Kira and I to have a real sort of tender moment. Not tender, but they were fun and funny. We laughed and all of that, knowing that we probably were going to die. Or I was anyway.
Yeah, Kira's had those kind of moments. She had one with Dukat where something got stuck in his butt and he needed her to pull it out.
Yeah. In his butt cheek.
Yeah, in his butt cheek. And there was a light moment between them, even though, they hate each other so much. I love those kinds of moment of levity. But yeah, I think Damar is one of those people like, well, you got to explain it to me. It has to make sense to him for him to...
Yeah. And you can play that kind of a person. We all know people like that. I call them empirical thinkers. Like when somebody looks outside and it's raining, if they're an empirical thinker, they go, oh, it's never going to stop raining. I'm not an empirical thinker. I think, well, it's going to stop raining.
Right. Just like that feed. Well, we got to go in just a second here. We do have to run in just a minute. Before we go, we got to give a very special thanks to Homer Frizzell, Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Timothy Baum, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan. That's a good one. Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie, John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, Radek Orshevsky, Henry Unger, live from Tokyo, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Casey, this has been just the best. It's been so much fun. I feel like we've got like 50 more questions for you. We really hope to see you again real soon. I hope and think it may happen. But until then, just thank you so much for your time and for opening up your heart and giving us tons of advice and stories. We really appreciate it.
And giving us this great character. I mean, this is such a dynamic character. And you just knock it out of the park. And your combinations with Jeffrey Combs, your combinations with Limo, you just really just shine no matter who they put you up against. And I love it. So thank you so much for joining us and sharing your knowledge and experience with us.
Many thanks. My pleasure.
Great. Okay, everybody stick around. We've got the free-for-all up next. And until then, we will bid farewell to Casey. Really appreciate your time. Thanks again. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello.
Eating Honey Nut Cheerios. We are doing the free-for-all now, everybody, with Dr. Susan V. Gruner. We've got Radek Orshevsky in Southwest Poland, I bet. Goldu Scott Jensen is here. Dr. Mohamed Noor as well. Cool background. He must be at work. Faith Howell is here floating around Deep Space Nine. Carrie is matching her background and her shirt. She's wearing a cruise shirt and looks like she's floating on the ocean.
Yeah, it's my happy place.
Malissa Longo is our happy place, and she is also here.
Hi.
Eve England is out in Wales wearing a really cool shirt made by Cirroc's sister.
Yep.
We've got Rex A. Wood representing Trekkers Against Bullying. Mai is live from Tokyo drinking either tea or coffee, maybe Ractigino because it's super early over there. Homer Freezy is not necessarily out somewhere in New Yeezy. I'm not really sure. And Anil Catskills. Where's that?
It's New York. It's just a little further down north. Yeah,
upstate New Yeezy.
Upstate New Yeezy. Let's go with that.
Anil O. Palat. Nobody knows really where he is, but he's somewhere in the world, probably.
He's floating outside of Deep Space Nine.
Right. And TJ.
That's definitely not in the world.
Jackson-Bey is out in Missouri wearing a Radical shirt from Cirroc's sister as well. All right.
It's a Chick Sisko line.
Let's get up in this. So this was a really cool episode. Let's talk about it, shall we? Dr. Susan B. Gruner, why did you give this episode a 10?
Oh, I don't have that long of a list, or it's everything. So that's my answer. Everything about it is fabulous. I could elaborate more, but this is just such a fabulous show. They pay attention to every detail. I sound like a broken record, but every performance from every actor is just unbelievably good. You hate who you're supposed to hate and you love who you're supposed to love. And all I could think of when I was watching it was how great they were, how great Louise Fletcher is, and Mark Alamo, and have we found him? We need to get him. I'm dying to talk to him. The depth of what he has to do to play that character is just amazing. So yeah, I didn't give it a 10. I gave it 100.
We're going to send him that video of you saying that to him. Hopefully that'll work.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Right. Radek Orshevsky, how recently have you watched this episode, and how much did you love it?
I watched it last night. The last time I watched it last night, and I love it, and I love it on so many dimensions. Like, I mean, first of all, if you look at the title, The Strange Bedfellows, and you look like, you know, how the title fits into all the plots that we see. So we see Damar and Wiyun. We see, of course, Kaiwin and Dukat, but we also see Ezri and Worf. Yeah, maybe also a reference there. I like Sue just said, like, so many great scenes from so many actors who really performed amazing. I have my personal twist on this episode. I really love the scene when Wiyun explains to Damar that he's supposed to, you know, sign the orders or some kind of agreement. And of course, Damar says, like, but I don't know what's in it, and that's why I want you to sign it. You know, what I do professionally, I work with like big or small companies building software or digital products. Mm-hmm. And we always have these memes that, you know, there's a project manager who comes and say, like, when will it be done? But we don't know what we are supposed to build yet. That's why I'm asking. Yeah, and that's a big parallel to this conversation. Yeah, like mentioned, Louise Fletcher as Kaiwin, that's just amazing. I think watching it for the first time, I caught by on a trick that, you know, she comes to Nerys and for this kind of confession or something like this, and we all have hopes that, hey, maybe she's gonna turn good or something like this, and step down as a Kai. What do you mean? that's so great. Yeah,
no chance of that, right?
No.
Well, maybe, you know, maybe next episode she'll see the light, and, you know, she'll be like, I'm no longer like super ambitious. Right. I just want to give myself to the betterment of my people.
Spoilers, Ryan. Spoilers.
Stay tuned for that, everybody. But we were actually describing Goldie Scott Jensen when I said that. All he cares about is the betterment of mankind. How are you, Scott?
I mean, I care a lot about the betterment of mankind. I don't know if it's all I care about. It's just pizza and stuff. But again, another great episode, and I could probably say a whole bunch of stuff. But it holds two of my favorite DS9 moments. The first, I'm going to go backwards. One of my favorite ones is just when Wayne blasts those two people in the back. Not Wayne, when Damar blasts the two people in the back. Just get out of here, and you realize what's been cooking all along, and it's not just the drink that's doing that to him. And then my other favorite snap moment actually is when Worf just drops Wayne 9 just out of nowhere, just steps up and drops him, and it's just whoa, which led to the great line later on of when Mar's sitting there drunk, and he just goes, I don't know, why don't you go ask Worf again?
Oh, so good.
And his delivery, it was just effortless. Just, why don't you go ask Worf again? But Head and Shoulders, probably my favorite moment in this episode, is Martok proved why he's made it through so many battles. Metaphorically and in reality, that is one of the wisest people in all four quadrants. Mm-hmm. And that just advice that he gives them right there was classic, and it was a great moment. And it's great because it's a Klingon, not just screaming about fighting. This guy's got so much going on up here, and I absolutely love it. And JG was perfect in that scene as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we didn't even cover that, Cirroc. That was shades of when Martok was giving Worf advice. I was like, this guy's a Dr. Phil of the station all of a sudden. Right?
Wait a minute.
He's the real counselor, right? It's not
way
Ezra
better.
Yeah, he's giving everybody
way better
advice.
than Dr. Phil.
Way better.
Next, he's going to come up to Rom and say, Rom, my friend, sometimes you got to just...
I had this Targ once.
All right. Malissa Longo, how are you? Do you have any relationship advice for Rom, or do you want to tell us what you liked about this episode?
Rom, trust Lita and your love was for her. But this episode, I really loved. I didn't take notes because I felt like I wanted to just watch and absorb. Because it is the final, the final run of the season, and there's so much good stuff in these final episodes that I wanted to savor them as much as possible. The moments, there's so many great moments in this episode when Sisko says, "And so the war begins." The look on his face.
And then he spikes the food or something. What does he put in the food?
It was just hot sauce, hopefully. Yeah.
Hot sauce,
spiking it?
Pepper.
Yeah.
He was going to use pepper, and then it's like, well, I'm going to use some hot sauce because it's spicy in here. And I love how open Kira is with the Kai, and how she really wants her to change for the better, and wants her heart to be opened. And it's a wonderful moment on Kira's part, and I believe that when believed that she wanted that too, but it was a good episode of self-reflection for Wynn to realize why it's only the Pares that have come to speak to her, and why the prophets don't speak to her, because deep down they knew where her true allegiances were. And her finally taking that look in the mirror and seeing who she truly is kind of a wonderful revelation on all the way around. And when in that conversation between Kira and Kai Wynn, Kira says, "Well, I'm not a Vedic, but I think spirituality and faith of the prophets and following what they mean is such and such." And it got me thinking how we put too much importance on titles, and somebody can claim to be something of Vedic, a priest, but those titles aren't what makes a person holy or virtuous, or that doesn't imbue them with this grace that Kai Wynn claimed to have. It's in it's in how we live our lives. And the final thing, I love that Damar finally owned the leadership of Cardassia in this episode. He finally became the leader that he was meant to be.
We'll see. We'll see. What about you, Dr. Noor? You kind of take on a leadership role on this show, basically. What do you think about this episode?
I love it. I love that we're in the final arc. I don't want to call it the final countdown, but the final arc. There.
I thought
yeah, right. I was thinking of the song earlier.
Yeah, now we all are.
Yeah, right. Sorry. I felt like what I loved about this was it was the realization of potential in three of the characters, for better in the context of Damar and Worf, and not for better in the context of a Wynn. So, but I mean, these are things that we saw kind of building, and now it's like, all right, we're at the point of the arc where, like, yes, these things are being realized and accepted and taken. They're basically grabbing the bull by the horns and doing what they were basically set up to do. Like Scott, I love the Wayun scenes. I do have one little nitpick. It's not a big nitpick, but when Worf and Ezri were hanging upside down, Nikki DeBoer did very good. She was kind of swinging, like you could kind of see the swing. Worf was like moving his head, but his body was totally still. Like, oh, obviously, like we just turned the image upside down here. But Nikki did really well with that.
I was wondering about that. Okay. Good stuff. I was wondering if they were really upside down or not, but I couldn't tell. Good catch. What say you, Faith Howell?
So I didn't get to do my customary rewatch, so I did a quick step through right before the recording. But I did notice that this is my favorite episode to date, just because of the change in Damar. You guys know, you've heard me say before, I love him. He is amazing, and I love how he just glows now. And how, I love the scene where he's just giggling, kicked back. He's having his drink, but it's a different kind of feeling than the last, 5 or 6 episodes where he was just hating on himself. It was definitely I can't believe that just happened right in front of me. And now I get to welcome another one of you guys. And, I wish I'd have done it myself, was kind of the feeling. So I really enjoy that giggle. And then, of course, the end, when we realize that he is actually maybe playing for our side now. So, yay!
Yeah.
Welcome to the team, Damar.
Welcome to the team.
Maybe we'll see. That's what we think today. But check back Damar, and we'll see if it's. Carrie Schwent is also here. How are you?
I'm very, very good. I'll try to get to my notes super, super quick. I'll start with my haiku. Marriage is a war. Tywin embraces power race. Damar aids escape. Yeah, and Damar's giggle when Wayne's laying there, just you can't help but laugh right along with him. And his little quote, "Yeah, you should have killed me. There's only one Damar." Best quote of the entire episode.
Yeah.
And Grimmy Bear has a tiny little nitpick for Kira. You almost had her. Then you had to go and suggest that she resign. Why did you say that? She might have done it on her own.
No, she wouldn't have.
So
for like a microsecond, she might have thought about it. Like a microsecond, but yeah, and Sisko and the marriage talk with Martok. Martok taught him the first rule. 2 words: yes, dear. No matter what, yes, dear. And he learned that lesson very quickly when she pushed back on doing the ceremony. He learned that lesson very quickly. Some husbands train very well. Mine trained excellent. My ex, not so much. But yeah, the marriage is a war. You have your little periods every now and then. There's the tussle, but then you make up and you prepare for the next round. But yeah, yes, dear, will get all of you husbands very far in your marriages.
She's taking on Martok for the championship of advice here. Well, we got to move forward a bit here, but there was somebody that basically got whiplash from nodding really hard when you said yes, dear, and that was Eve England out in Wales. She was in high agreement. How are you, Eve?
Yeah, James too has perfected that sentiment, so agree with that. Same. There's just so many things to pick up, but just 2 points that I just particularly cracked me up. When Damar is laughing at dead Wayoon, what I absolutely love is when he just says to the guards, pick that up. He doesn't even say pick him up, and he just that, and it just shows that disdain that he's had this whole time and contempt for Wayoon. I just thought that was fantastic, along with the future quips that he kind of makes later on. But the main point I just wanted to make is, as we've already said about Kai Wynn and how she ends up changing sides, and to me this really is the moment where she just becomes, in my view, and I know lots of people won't agree with me on this, but in my view, she becomes the ultimate villain of Deep Space Nine rather than Dukat. Because here we have, she gets to the point where she admits the fact that that's actually what she wants, is she craves power for her own self. And, you think, oh yeah, that 1 minute she might redeem herself and do the right thing. But she then unashamedly and knowingly just takes that step to go, do you know what? These guys have done nothing for me. I'm going to switch sides for my own glory. And to me, it's Dukat is crazed. He's got this, he's gone a bit loopy. He's all out for revenge for Sisko and Bajor as a whole. Whereas, so to me, that's slightly different to someone who makes the conscious decision without any kind of mental health or, background to that. It's all to do with her and her quest for glory. And I just think it's absolutely, she is just fundamentally the worst villain. So that's to me is my view. So I know people would disagree, but I just thought this episode and the way they played that was it just blew my mind. I thought that was just really well done.
It's amazing. Win-win for everybody. Rex A. Wood, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, the best part is that, of course, Kai Wynn finally gets a lot of things that she deserves, but I think she also understands at that point that the prophets never liked her. Okay. And when she was young and when she was doing other things and she was looking at the ceremonies and everybody was talking about it, the prophets were talking to them, and she'd say, they never talked to me. That may have been a big idea that maybe you weren't actually liked by the prophets at that point. So I think one of the things that happens during it is she just finds out, hey, they just never really liked me. And then I think that's when she decides, you know what? I've had this vision, and obviously the pro-wraith likes me better. So I'm going there where they actually like me because she's about the popularity and people liking her and everything like that. So this episode was really good where that changeover happens. So that's probably what I like the best about it is she kind of gets it at one point that she isn't liked, and the prophets don't really like her either. So yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Beautiful change in Kai Wynn. It's freaking awesome.
Yep.
Your thoughts, Mai? How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. Good, very early morning. It's getting progressively harder to look at each of the episodes as individual entities. It's an arc. It's like Luke was talking about. It's this whole thing. You have to watch it and just feel it. And I really agree with that. I hate that each episode that we watch portends the end of the show. That's not what I want to have happen. I want more. But if I look closely at this one, there's one thing in this episode that I struggle with, and that's Martok's characterization of marriage as war. I don't think he gets it right. Sisko then accepts it. I mean, Star Trek's a great teacher. Timeless, important messages constantly that transcend time and generations, but not in this case. I think they dropped the ball entirely. Sisko says, "Oh, so Lady Sorella drew the first blood," and Martok comes back with, "Yes, but I won my fair share of battles." It's not a relationship. That's not a marriage. That's baloney. If marriage is a series of battles, then maybe we should look at the battle master, Sun Tzu, and see what he has to say about that. He says all warfare is based on deception. Solid basis for a relationship. Not. There's no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. Again, no. But he also says that the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. And I think that's the way to look at a relationship. The best marriage or the best war, to use Martok's terminology, is the one that has no battles. And I think that's the better Star Trek message that should have come out from this, but didn't. I've just seen the tail end of a very long marriage, and as I think about it over the years, I don't think that it's about saying okay and giving up and having battles. I think it's about becoming part of the other person so that they can become part of you. And this just bugged me. So sorry, I'm on a relationship rant here. But before I pass the baton to the next person, let me just say, Louise Fletcher, amazing acting. The way that she could portray and convince us that she was this girlish girl in that scene. And I thought, wow, she kicked some serious behind on that one. I really liked that. Big kudos. And then finally on the bar, I don't know if any of you have celebrated Passover, but Elijah's Cup on the bar, classic. Loved that one. That was fantastic. If you don't know what I'm talking about with Elijah's Cup, look it up. It's part of the Passover ceremony. And that when he left the glass out for her, I thought it for Ezri, I thought it was very similar to that. It was great. Lots of religious references throughout Star Trek, and that was just another one. So there you go. Rushing through.
Wow. think we've got a new master of war because Mai was just dropping truth bombs.
Mm-hmm.
Homer Freezy out somewhere in upstate New Yeezy, Cirroc tells us. How are you, Homer?
Hi there. I am well. I'm going to add this to the Art of War. I don't think the Klingons would subscribe necessarily to Sun Tzu's version of it. To them, you need a battle, you need the glory. And so I think it's just a metaphor for marriage in that there's this ongoing sort of back and forth compromise, if you will. So I think that's where they were going from. But then when Martok talks about his Targ being frail, that's not very Klingon. I don't think that they would want that for themselves. So that really surprised me. And then the other thing I'll mention, this is my last point, I thought when they were going to get the orb for Kai Wynn, that maybe it was a fake orb, that Dukat had staged that to make sure that she saw nothing. And I was still wondering if he had done that, but apparently not. But I wouldn't have put it past him. And it really, we see two characters really change in this episode and in the middle of this episode. And this episode is the middle of, I think, a 3-part arc. So I look forward to what's to come. And that's it from the Catskills.
Catskills out. All right. Missouri in. What's up, TJ Jackson-Bey?
What's up? How goes it?
Well, we're having a blast. Did you love this episode or what? Probably, right?
I did. It was super interesting. To start off, we gotta give an A+ to Dukat's pillow talk. He's a regular poet in the bed, because when they run out of those berries, he says, "Well, have Soul Boy bring us some more."
Yeah.
And I know I said it last week, but again, Soul Boy with the super side eye in the shade for every time Dukat is there is priceless to see.
You talking about Kai Wynn's her assistant?
Her assistant. Yeah. He's not.
He was like, Dukat's here. He says he's supposed to be meeting you.
And then, like when he gestures in, he's like, "Go ahead."
He's like, "As you wish."
And when he announced Kira, he did so respectfully, and I think even he thought, okay, here's some hope. She's gonna talk to Kira. Kira's gonna set her straight. Sorry, Soul Boy. And everybody's mentioned Louisa's performance, but there was one particular moment that I think shined out of an episode of shining for her, and that's when after she's had this talk with Dukat about what's really going on, and she just get out. Like her voice, her face in that moment. If you just look at that moment, you see all that you need to know about Louise Fletcher as an actress or actor. And 2 more points. One, Casey Biggs, credit because he's also shining and stepping out of the shadows that he's been in for a bit, and having some moments of his own as well. Let's see, I note one. I didn't note any other than one that was already mentioned, so pass on that. One nitpick, though. Okay, and maybe Damar had something to do with this. Maybe it was on purpose, or maybe it wasn't. But they are on Cardassia Prime with these, high priority prisoners. They have a whole planet of where they can put them, and they put them in a place where they can get to ships easily. Come on. So not A1 security. Oh yeah, there was one Casey moment that stood out to me is when he's in the Central Command area and the Breen come in, he goes from this kind of joyous kind of laughing at Wei Yun to they walk in and he is absolutely disgusted with what's going on, and you can see all of that in his face because of Casey's performance. So hats off to that, and that's it for me.
How did I just now notice that your background is a screenshot of Cirroc's background?
It's slick.
Brilliant.
Like
hang on. We spotlight this. Look at this genius
Awesome.
right here.
Yeah,
There's hot.
that is genius.
I thought you seemed more debonair today for some reason.
I like it, TJ.
Speaking of debonair, Anil O. Palat is here as well, and he is definitely that. How are you?
Good. I think this episode, Damar says the theme, which is arrogance. It's what always does the Wei Yun's in. Mm-hmm. And I think arrogance is a theme in this episode, and it's the downfall of some of the characters, and the ones who can let go of their arrogance move on. So the arrogance of Wei Yun is what does him in. Same thing with the Kai. Oh, I don't need the prophets. I need power. I know everything. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with Kai Wen. Yeah, and Dukat, same thing. He thinks, they all think they're in control. And I'll add Sisko to that list as well, because he's defying what the prophets told him, and he's trying to have everything he wants, right? His family, even though they told him not to. And then, so, I think that sets them up. But the ones who let go of their arrogance, I feel, arrogance maybe is a strong word, but Odo, I'm totally mixed up. Worf, Ezri, they both let go. And Damar is the same thing. They let go. They put something aside from themselves, from their own desires, to move on. So I think that was kind of the theme that was going on. So and it changes the course of how everything goes from here. I think Damar changing is really what sets up a really great ending.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That talk of arrogance, feeling attacked here. Well, Cirroc, we still have some business to attend, and that's Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score.
Oh man, this was a high one for me. I'm going to go like 8.9. I like it a lot.
Any other guesses, people?
Say 8.3, just because it's middle of the story. Excellent quality, but it's middle of the story.
Turns out it's only a 7.8 on IMDb, which is criminal. Because I feel like we had the best Kai Wen performance ever, right? Louise Fletcher acting her pants off for us.
Right.
Damar, Wei Yun.
Too literally.
Oh,
yikes.
It's just really unbelievable acting and scenes. And also we have, by my count, 3 non-appearance mentions. You guys know what they are? Did you get them?
No, I got 2.
Yeah.
Cirilla.
Jadzia. I didn't get another one.
Yeah.
Cirilla, Martok's wife.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, it's only 2. One of them was going to be a Nam, but he popped up. That was Ranjan Solbor, but yeah, he popped up later. So, yep, just 2. You got it. All right.
I had a few little, just quick little points.
Yeah.
One, I like when Damar says, that's the equivalent of a legate, right?
Yeah.
He got very disappointed by that response. Also, directing wise, I love the way Renee put the framing of Kai Wen and Dukat in that picture frame together with the circle. It's kind of like showing them like they're the same. I felt like really, I felt a lot in that moment, just that framing them in the picture frame. Also wanted to say that I thought Louise Fletcher's performance when she's dealing with Dukat is so amazing, because there's moments when she talks down to him, so like you're just a farmer guy, you wouldn't understand. I think she says she yells at him to go bring the orb, like go bring me the orb, like I don't work for you, but she bossed him around like that. She also she says to him, she says, "This is far beyond your comprehension," to Ducat, and the look he gives her, like, "Do you know who I am?" Like, I'm playing you right now, and you're talking to me like I don't know what's going on. So I love that moment where she's kind of like completely, just discrediting his ability to comprehend, and he's just a poor, stupid farmer. And his look back to that was amazing. And then my last thing I'll say is, I really love the Breen's costumes, like their uniforms.
They look so familiar.
Yeah, I was like, I would totally rock that Breen outfit somewhere, because
oh, really?
I don't know if it's made out of suede or what, but it looks ridiculous. And so shout out to the costume designers for really coming up with something slick for the Breen and making their outfits pop like that. So those were my big takeaways for this episode. I thought everybody was really great. Also, when Kai delivers the line, talk in reference to the orbs and the gods, he says, "Their love is strong, but so is their wrath." And I felt like she really kind of foreshadows a lot of stuff coming up, and that we're going to see. So I just really liked her performance in this episode. There was a moment where I actually thought maybe she isn't so bad. Maybe she really was trying to
watch your mouth.
Yeah, maybe she was really trying to have a spiritual connection. She wanted to be chosen by the prophets, and so I did feel like a desire there that was slightly authentic. She didn't turn right away to the offer of all the glory of the world that the Pah-wraiths were offering her. She didn't jump on that right away, which shows me that there was a part of her that was on the fence. Like, she was actually, there was some good in her that she could have leaned towards, but she obviously chose the opposite way. But I just like that balance there, where it just wasn't just so clear cut that she was like, "Oh yeah, I'll take the power and destroy everybody." She had to think about it, and she had to like almost convince herself that's, "Oh yeah, that is what I want."
I deserve it.
Brilliant writing. It's a brilliant writing tool to not show that change, to just see that she slept on it or whatever, and it was just like the next day, because we know what happened in that time.
Wow. Right. Yeah, Deep Space Nine, as far as I can think about all the series, Deep Space Nine is the only one that has the character development where the character is totally changed over the course of 7 years. In the beginning, we don't like the Ferengi. They're dumb. They're misogynist. And then we get Nog and Rom and Quark. They're not what you think. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but you know how many characters they turn out to be really 180 degrees from where they started.
Totally.
And the last thing I'll just mention too is, we didn't talk about it, but Bashir finally gets the realization in this episode.
Yeah.
That he's like, "Wait a minute, I think I like this girl." So I kind of like that moment too.
We could keep talking about this for like an hour. That's the mark of a good episode, is we all have like 10 more things we want to bring up, and we didn't cover everything. We still have way more to cover, but
so much
it'll have to be covered next time. And we do want to say thank you very much to TJ Jackson-Bey, Rudek Orshevsky, Goldis Scott, Malissa Longo, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Homer Frizzell out in Walter Koenig's former apartment building in New York, in the Catskills right now. My live from Tokyo, Rex A. Wood, Eve England out in Wales, Anil O. Palat, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. For myself, Cirroc, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. Until then, always remember the 7th rule.